Viewer discretion is advised.
We're on to my case about another young woman who is super admirable and cool and whose life was cut short by an awful man.
Okay.
So literally the only connection is that it took place in 1969. You're welcome.
Nice. Love it. Love.
This was your idea for an episode topic.
I know. And this is what I got.
Okay.
Yep, you did great.
It's fine.
It's
fine.
perfect.
It's an interesting case. It's just not fun. It's quite dark. So anyway.
Fabulous.
Jane Britton was born in 1945
Connie Britton.
in Needham,
Love her.
Massachusetts.
Oh, ever heard of it?
Don't you have relatives
No.
there, Amanda?
Where?
Needham,
Oh, no.
Needham, Massachusetts.
No. I don't need them.
Her father, J. Boyd Britton, was vice president of Radcliffe College, one of the prestigious Seven Sisters schools and like the women's counterpart to Harvard before they like let women in. And still have rad. And her mother, Ruth Britton, was also an intellectual and also worked at Radcliffe and was a visiting scholar of medieval history.
Ooh, cool.
So her parents are smarties, and she's a smarty. Jane had a typical upbringing for a well-off New England girl. When she was not in school, she spent her time cultivating various accomplishments, including riding horses, painting, and playing the piano.
Ah,
What an overachiever.
what a lady.
After Jane graduated from Dana Hall School, a private all-girls school in Wellesley, Massachusetts, she followed her parents' footsteps and enrolled at Radcliffe, which she would have gotten in no matter what, but like her dad's the vice president.
Sure.
Anyway,
My father will hear about this.
but she was super qualified and would have gotten in no matter what. As an undergrad, she studied anthropology and distinguished herself as a dedicated and talented student.
Okay.
After completing her senior thesis on comparative methodologies in studying Perigordian cultures.
Wow.
So, like, the Perigord is a region, and then this is an umbrella term used for, like, upper Paleolithic and late Stone Age cultures in that region, because there's a lot of, like, rock art,
Oh, cool.
whatever,
Interesting.
Where is
And
this
that-
region?
in France.
Oh, cool.
She graduated magna cum laude and was accepted to Harvard's graduate program in anthropology, which is a big accomplishment for a woman in the 60s. Jane's specific area of interest was Near Eastern archaeology, and during her first year in Harvard's program, she was one of the doctoral candidates chosen to accompany her professors to a dig in southeastern Iran.
Wow, cool.
That's
So cool.
wild.
Yeah.
I
And
hope
this
she
is-
wore a wide-brimmed hat and like white linen
Khaki.
shirts, khakis rolled up with like
Like a
belts.
beige scarf around her neck to keep sand off of her chin.
yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good for her.
So the dig in Iran turned out to be extremely consequential, and the team uncovered the ruins of a fortress that was once captured by Alexander the Great.
Whoa.
Dang.
A hugely successful dig. Jane herself was later credited by the leader of the dig, a man named C.C. Lamberg-Karlovsky, which we will get back to him. So remember Lamberg-Karlovsky.
Okay. The Lamberg baby.
Yep. He was also her academic advisor, and he credited her as being responsible for one of the project's most important finds on that dig. And I don't know what it was, but she was the one that found something cool in her square of dirt.
Nice.
Sure. Okay.
In her square of dirt.
Welcome
Whatever.
to my dirt square.
Also, I read conflicting reports about whether that professor liked Jane or not, and if he did like her, if his like for her was
like, or
like,
just like.
right. So we will get to it. When she was not traveling for field work, Jane lived in a 4th-floor apartment with her pet turtle and pet cat.
Oh,
Cutie.
that's really cute.
So cute.
In a building owned by Harvard at 6 University Road, for which she paid $75 a month.
Wow.
Must
the
have
good
been
old days.
nice.
Seriously.
I paid in 2011, I paid $725 a month for one bedroom that didn't have a closet in this area.
It's all nuts.
It's fine. It's cool. It's whatever.
For a single bedroom or a 1-bedroom apartment?
No, a single bedroom in an apartment with roommates.
With other people.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. She began dating another student in her program named James Humphreys. She also liked her neighbors, 2 other classmates that she'd become close to. They were a married couple, and they were both her classmates, Donald and Jill Mitchell, and they lived in the apartment next to her. So she had a great little thing going.
Yeah, with her kitty and her turtle.
Despite the numerous prestigious universities, Cambridge, Massachusetts at the time had a reputation as a relatively unsafe city, which is not the case anymore. But like Somerville, next to it has parts that are like very much all, prestigious university students, and then other parts that are like a little more rundown.
Is that where your sister lives, Amanda?
No. My sister's in Melrose now. She used to be in Charleston.
It's where we had a show. We had a show in
but
Somerville.
It's like major college area.
Okay. So we were there.
Yeah, we've
we
been
were
to
there,
Somerville.
and I lived there.
Got it.
So-
Okay.
So parts of Somerville are a little more towny and a little more run down, and shit goes down, and people can easily take advantage of students because they're seen as like rich and dumb and drunk and vulnerable. So at the time, Cambridge was like that as well. And she had a really sheltered childhood in the fancy suburbs. And now she's living there on her own, in her own first apartment. So the building where Jane and her friends lived would later be described by various news sources as, quote, decrepit and unsafe.
Oh, just like your childhood home.
Yeah.
Dilapidated.
Dilapidated.
That's where I grew up. It's fine.
God.
Littered and dingy and seedy and roach infested.
Okay.
Not a great building.
I've lived in a roach infested building. It's not that
It's
bad.
fine.
This
It's
is worse
fine.
than what you've lived in, and we're about to get to it.
Oh, I'm sure.
So in 1963, a Boston University student named Beverly Sammons had been raped and murdered in that very building. And she is now known to have been one of the victims of the infamous Boston Strangler.
Wow. Weird.
Yeah.
Is that what you're covering?
No. Well, I mean, this happened before Jane lived there, but someone was raped and murdered in that building by the Boston Strangler.
Sure.
So when Jane moved in, the building had no buzzer system and no locks on the outside doors, despite like numerous pleas from tenants over the years and like what had happened in 1963. They just didn't up security at all after that murder.
Sure.
Great.
And then the lock to Jane's apartment was flimsy and barely worked to the point that she often didn't even bother using it.
Oh.
Cool.
So that's not great.
Not great.
This lack of security in the building was especially concerning as street crime had been on the rise in the neighborhood of late, with numerous Harvard and Radcliffe students reporting being victims of muggings or attempted muggings that year. And actually, according to Jane's friends, she herself had a run-in with a mugger while walking on campus, but she was able to fight him off with a penknife.
Ooh. Good for her.
Yeah.
Scary, but
Really scary. I have another friend who fought off a mugger with a knife.
dang.
Jesus.
Not in that area. That was in Buffalo, New York.
I almost had to when we were in
Really?
Chicago. You, me, and Aaron.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were being followed by that creepy guy, and you were like, let me see how big my knife is.
It's like, did I show you guys my new Leatherman? Look how big the blade is. And I like got it out, was like brandishing it, and the guy fully turned around and walked away.
And got the fuck out of there. It was great.
I love it.
I mean, maybe he felt threatened by me for no reason, but he was definitely following us.
Speaking
for the
of
folks at home, I'm eating a blood sugar snack, so get over it.
fine. So you don't die. Recently, I was taking the trash out, and it was the middle of the day, and I was taking the trash out to my bins in my backyard, and there's like a back alley, and I had to like break down the boxes for recycling, so I had big scissors with me.
Because Zach hadn't done it. It's his one
yeah.
job.
Classic.
No, he does not do a good job with the trash. And this guy was, I mean, he looked unhoused. I don't know, whatever. He was minding his own business, but he was walking down the alley kind of towards me. And I, without thinking, just like waved, but I waved with the hand that was holding these massive scissors.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
I was trying to be friendly, and he turned around.
You're waving like this.
Oh, no.
Hello.
Oh, well.
Oh, you.
Did you yell and apologize?
No, but he was.
Did you chase him down to apologize?
He noped the fuck out of there. Let me tell
Bye-bye.
you. Anyway.
I would have.
Poor guy.
So, okay. So aware that the situation with her apartment was unsustainable and she like had to move, she had begun like thinking about looking for a new place in a better building, but she just hadn't quite started that process yet. She's busy, she's in school, and she really likes her neighbors. They're her close friends. So that kind of like slowed down the urgency of looking for a new place.
But
But
she didn't really want to go.
yeah. So then on the evening of January 6th, 1969,
Nice.
There it is. Nice.
Love it.
Jane, who was now 23 years old, and James Humphreys, her boyfriend, went out to dinner with a group of friends from the program at a nearby restaurant. After dinner, James and Jane went ice skating before
Cute.
walking back to 6 University Road. This is just like the perfect evening.
Yeah, it sounds really nice.
James stayed for about an hour after walking Jane home, then left around 11:30 p.m. to return to his own apartment. And then Jane went next door to the Mitchell's apartment for a nightcap and had some sherry, and the friends hung out until about 12:30 a.m.
Cute.
And
It's a
then
lovely evening.
Not a
Yeah.
great evening.
Yeah. I'm going to go ice skating and then have sherry with my neighbor friends.
Right?
I know, but and first a big dinner with like a bunch of friends and your boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's a great evening.
Yeah.
So then she goes, I don't know if, they were her next door neighbors, so I'm guessing she just like goes across the hall back to her own place at around 12:30 a.m. The following day, January 7th, was an important exam day for all the students in her program. These exams marked the end of the classroom portion of their doctoral degrees. And then after these big exams, then they would just work full-time on their dissertations before their dissertation defense, and then they're done.
So it's like finals.
It's like their big finals before the dissertation, yeah. And so everyone in the program was shocked when Jane didn't show up to sit her exams that morning.
Yeah, not like her.
No. So James called her repeatedly, worried. You know, he got no answer. And so he finished his own exams, because like back then, I don't think they were lenient at all about rescheduling. So he finishes his own exams and then went directly to Jane's apartment as soon as he finished a little bit after noon to check on her. He found her apartment door unlocked, which was not unusual. But when he entered, he found Jane face down on her bed with her nightgown pulled up over her head, and then both a rug and a fur coat spread over her upper body,
No.
like piled over her upper body.
Jeez.
So believing that she might be sick, like hoping, I think, in denial
Yeah.
at this scene, he went next door to get Jill Humphreys, or not Jill Mitchell, and asked her to be the one to take a closer look at Jane because I just don't think that he was like believing what his eyes were seeing.
And maybe he was like trying to be the nice, polite boyfriend, be like, oh, her, she's in a state. I don't want her waking up to me.
Right. Yeah, like she's unclothed below the waist and like this is crazy. Mm-hmm. So he gets Jill to come take a look, and then Jill quickly realized that Jane was dead and appeared to have been bludgeoned in the head.
Oof.
Ugh. So this was confirmed by the Cambridge medical examiner, who noted multiple lacerations to the head and like underlying skull fractures. So she was not strangled.
Right. So she wasn't killed by the Boston Strangler, as far as we know. We now know that she was not, but that was obviously like a theory. Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Jane's death was ruled a homicide by blunt force trauma, and it was also determined that she had been raped before her death. Her time of death was estimated to be about 10 hours before her body was discovered, which would be only about an hour or so after she left the Mitchell's apartment and went back to her own apartment. So, like, either someone broke in soon after she returned home, or they were lying in wait for her in her apartment.
Ew. Or they like kind of followed her down the hallway.
That's so creepy.
Well, it was right next door, so I think she would have noticed somebody else in the hallway, but
yeah.
Ew,
lying in wait. Ooh.
I hate lying in wait.
Lying in wait is the worst.
Not great.
Well, they could have been lying in wait all damn day. And she was kind of gone for a long time.
She was gone from, dinner and then after dinner all the way till 12:30 a.m.
Nope.
So this was backed up by the fact that while Jane's blood was alcohol-free, her stomach had a 0.08% alcohol content, and that was from the nightcap that she'd had at the Mitchell's apartment, suggesting that she died before it could even be metabolized. So she died very soon after 12:30 a.m.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So robbery was ruled out as a motive because all of her valuables remained in the apartment.
Okay.
However, a stone that Jane had brought home as a souvenir from the Iran dig was soon discovered to be missing, leading investigators to consider the possibility that this might have been the murder weapon.
No! Killed with your own stone.
From your big successful
that you were way proud
dig.
Of.
Yeah.
That's like...
It's a really heartbreaking case. She just was a very...
Your favorite.
Cool, interesting, talented young individual,
I could be killed with this stone.
You could
You
be
have
killed
so
with that
many
stone.
murder weapons in your house.
Your
Oh my
entire
God.
house is murder weapons.
No.
They're everywhere I look.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
My entire house is choking hazards.
Great.
Anyway, okay, so forensic evidence was limited back then because it's 1969. But investigators did find a set of fingerprints that did not belong to Jane nor to anyone else who was known to have been in the apartment. So not the Mitchells, not James, Humphreys, close friends, whatever. They tested it against people that were supposed to be there.
Not the cat nor the turtle.
Not the turtle. They couldn't get much out of the turtle as a witness.
He was really a slow talker.
He tucks back into his shell.
Like slower than Johnny Depp on the stand, let me tell you.
Is he slow? I haven't
He
watched
talks
any of it.
so slowly.
That entire case is so fucking irritating to me. They're both bad.
They're both
You don't
nuts.
have to take sides. They're both toxic.
They
I
were
mean,
in
Amber
a-
Heard is like arguably worse, but,
Yeah, but,
they are
okay.
both nuts.
I just, the whole
It was a
thing. and
toxic,
her lawyer is just
violent
embarrassing.
He's
relationship.
such an idiot. Her lawyer is so bad. I love it.
Anyway, whatever. I
Not
don't care.
covering that. We don't care enough.
I don't care.
Okay.
Would rather talk about teratomas.
Mm-hmm.
So interviews with the neighbors yielded the information, like not just her friends, the neighbors, though they were also interviewed, but like wider neighbor interviews in the building, yielded the information that a child in the building believed that she had heard someone on the fire escape that evening.
Ooh.
And that another neighbor had witnessed a man about 6 feet tall running away from the building at about 1:30 a.m.
Ew.
Okay.
So much of the press coverage of the case focused on the shocking fact of like this beautiful and brilliant Harvard student being the victim of this crime. But there was also intense focus on one bizarre detail of the case
Here we go.
that had been leaked to the press.
Here we go.
And this was the fact that Jane's body, as well as several surfaces in her apartment, had been sprinkled with a reddish-brown powder that was
No.
later identified as red ochre.
What?
Yeah, and there's a photo in my...
Is it like a mineral?
Yeah. Like, imagine, like, very red dirt.
Okay.
Do you see the picture?
Weird. Yeah.
Jane's advisor, remember the guy who led the dig?
CC?
C.C. Lamberg-Karlovsky. There are photos of him on the drive. Do you see him?
Oh, the color is almost like curry.
Yes, I see him.
Yeah, it does look like red curry powder.
Curry
almost, but
powder.
it's like dirt
Cool.
or mineral. I don't know, whatever. Some geologist is screaming. So her advisor, Lamberg Karlovsky, was interviewed by the police, and he noted during that interview that in some cultures, including those of ancient Persia, which like he studied and she was studying, well, she wasn't studying that as intensely as he was, but they had gone on this dig in Iran, so ancient Persia. So some cultures sprinkled such a powder over the dead as a funeral rite.
Oh.
So to him, that was significant.
Like a cultural significance. Yeah. Connection.
Yeah. But ancient.
Interesting. Yeah.
Creepy.
Also, a piece of a grave marker was found placed by Jane's body. And I believe that this was also just like an item that she had in her apartment.
Ugh.
You know, because she just had a bunch of cool archaeological shit.
Yeah, that's true.
I love
I
her.
probably have that somewhere in my house. Let's be honest.
Yeah, someone could pose my corpse with a bunch of
Wild
weird
shit.
shit.
It would be such a stunning tableau.
I kind of want to build one.
We'll pose you. Don't worry.
We'll make sure you get paused.
Perfect. I knew I could
One
count
more
on you guys.
photo shoot. Portrait
Say no
mode.
more. Yep. Say no
Portrait
more.
mode.
Want one all together
Is
with
it on
your
square?
with your macabre tableau?
Amanda would do it because I would find the objet and Amanda would take the photo.
Done.
Put it on square so we can post.
Oh, obviously.
Okay. So these details that he like mentioned in his interview to police led to speculation that Jane had been killed by another archaeology student or perhaps even C.C. Lamberg-Karlovsky himself. Because again, there were like all these rumors that he maybe like pursued his young female students or and I don't know. I don't want to like disparage this man if that wasn't the case or if
why
those
not?
rumors
Yeah, disparage away.
or if those rumors started after Jane's death or before her death. I don't know. So Lamberg-Karlovsky called this speculation, quote, completely fabricated and without foundation. But nonetheless, police requested and were provided with a list of students and faculty in the department who would have had knowledge of the red ochre funeral rite. And that
Okay.
was like a lot of people in the archaeology department because that's their job to know that
Right.
shit. Anyway, so Cambridge police also filmed Jane's funeral service in case any of her classmates or teachers attended and acted suspiciously. And then James Humphreys, the boyfriend, and the neighbors, the Mitchells, were given lie detector tests when interviewed about the events of the evening prior to the murder. And I'm assuming they all passed because James and the neighbors were never really considered suspects.
Got it.
So 3 days after the murder, Cambridge police announced that they had found the stone that was believed to be the murder weapon.
Ugh.
However, they didn't reveal where because they were trying to limit information released to the public after the red ochre shit got out to the press and caused a frenzy. So a neighbor of Jane's would later recall that, quote, very few people at the time thought it was somebody random who came in and killed her. Everyone thought it was connected to the anthropology department.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The ochre, obviously, well, I'm assuming isn't native to the area.
No.
Did she have that in her apartment or did the killer bring it with?
I think she had it in her apartment.
Okay.
Unless it was a fellow archaeology student and they brought it in.
Okay.
I don't know.
But
it wasn't
for now.
It wasn't naturally occurring in the vicinity.
It was placed.
Yes.
Well, was it on her or was it just around?
It was sprinkled over her and around the apartment.
Okay. So it was put there after she died. It was put there.
Definitely the sprinkling on her body. Probably.
Okay.
We will get to it.
Okay.
So, with little new information emerging from the police, news outlets turned to speculating about the possibility that the growing counterculture scene in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Oh my God.
Which is so laughable now. But it's 1969, so the press is like, it was the hippies.
Yeah.
The hippies did it.
It was a satanic ritual.
Yeah. Could have had something to do with the murder. And so they had hypothetical scenarios of this wholesome young student who played the piano, being killed by some hippie on hallucinogens like marijuana.
The devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce.
So one of Jane's friends did agree to a reporter that, quote, she knew a lot of odd people in Cambridge, the hangers-on and the acid heads, who you would not call young, wholesome Harvard and Radcliffe types. She went to a lot of their parties and she was very kind to them. So she just was a nice person and had an eclectic friend group. But that's just stupid speculation.
Never be kind.
That's what we've
Literally
learned.
never.
So then, further fueling speculative news stories, 1 month after Jane's murder, an eerily similar crime occurred nearby.
More ochre.
A 50-year-old woman named Ada Bede, a former research secretary at Harvard, was found raped and beaten to death in her apartment about a mile from Jane's apartment.
Whoa.
Oh. Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.